This is the path up, now looking down on my house and my studio to the left there. Almost seems like a stage set. You know, the stage setting for a drama. You can imagine it on a stage lit by theatrical lights. At night it really takes that on because the lights illuminate only small parts of it. And then this field is what's up above. This is my wife's meditation cabin. When I built this, we spent a good deal of time walking around this field, feeling, you know, where the cabin should be, kind of feeling the direction, the power, the position, the proximity to the trees, the openness, and it ended up here. All these hawthorn trees, hawthorns are a colonizing species that grew up in this field after several years of mowing it down, and then I let some of them grow, and they're the colonizing tree species up here, along with some cedars and some pines, but they're particularly beautiful. I've tried to draw the hawthorns, and their energy is really too great to be captured by description. So I feel like they're not exactly spirits, but they occupy, they're inhabitants of this place. Maybe they're on their way to some kind of special power, but I love them. This is a view of the mowed open part of the field, in which I've placed some sculpture, and the idea being that you would use the work to identify relationships in certain places. So this piece is connecting these two hawthorns. These were inspired by Barry LeVay's lines and sweeping waves of plaster from the 70s. These are hydrocal on metal screen. But I was looking for a kind of an indifferent fragment of a landscape, something that wasn't special in and of itself, but perhaps drew attention to the place it was situated in a powerful way. So like I was saying, these places to me are nodes, locations in a open field that draw you from object to object through empty space. This piece was located here overlooking my house. I just can see the tip of it from the property below. It's called The Sinking of the SS Imikinoble. It's been here for about 15 years, weathering, slowly getting sort of re-eaten up by the landscape. And behind it is a similar form. These are done in plaster over wire screen. And I was less interested in the form of the object than simply the placement of an object in this landscape. And I realized, according to Chris Albert's project here, that the location of these things had to do with the mapping, calling attention to certain places and certain relationships of the fall of the land, the slope, the vegetation around it. One notices the details of the landscape more when there's something within the land sitting there that is not of the land. There's a red-tailed hawk hunting. Mapping in his own way from 500 feet up. So intersecting lives, intersecting paths, deer tracks, hawk pathways, mice under the grass. Living map. Territory. Another hawk. They seem to hunt in pairs. They talk to each other. The arrangements of the sculptures down in the field below. So this is just detritus left over from some bits of trees from mowing. And, you know, the arrangement here, I was trying to mirror with the placement of the sculptures. It brings to mind bones, or just the layering of what will become earth sooner or later. This is my drawing studio, which I use in the warm months of the year, usually from about May through the end of September. I built it here in relation to this shagbark hickory on the left. Has lost most of its lower branches, but this hickory tree has been what I consider to be the kind of ancestor figure of the field. It's got to be 80, 90 years old, if anything. And the farmer who property I purchased here had left this in the middle of an open orchard. And I felt that was a kind of mapping, because I would say the whole upper field is in relation to this hickory. And it's kind of a landmark. It's a point on a map, a node on a net a note in relationship, a monument of some kind. The cabin. The view from the cabin inside, looking out. Here's the hickory tree. When my friend Colin Stinson and I were building this cabin, we were working one day in the pouring rain, and he interrupted me in the middle of pounding nails, and he pointed to the hickory and he said, "It's laughing at us." That was a very true and funny observation. No doubt correct. The cabin is basically a kind of man-made Zen temple in this landscape, built to accommodate my drawing practice and to serve in some way as a focal point of the energy of the field. And I capped it with the skylight that I bought on Union Street in Brooklyn. And it occurred to me a while ago that this skylight is in the form of a sort of four-sided pyramid and focusing kind of cosmic rays onto the environment of the creative artist. So this space feels like I'm working in a sacred hut, a temple, some kind of pilgrimage site. And to do drawings in here or to write journal entries here is a concentration of the power of the field, the hawthorn trees, and the sky through this focused light from this diamond that caps the building. And this would be a sacred space, I suppose, but a human space. And I'm actually more interested in the non-human energy of the field and the deer and the hawks and the animals that pass through, because I'm just another one of them doing my thing. And in terms of the mapping, I would say that the spots, the concentrations of location that I've imposed upon this natural setting is my pale attempt to create a map, to make sense of basically the open field structure of this field and this landscape. And it serves me, and I hope it entertains the deer. Here's a drawing. An offering, let's say, to the hawthorn energy and the green in the plywood. Deer or coyote poop, I'm not sure what. A sign of the other life forms passing through. Here's the eastern boundary of my property. The stone wall is property line, more or less. But a line on a map, I think in the study of Zen they say something like, the map, don't mistake the map for the territory. This is the territory. Now, I put this bench up here because as I get older, I hike up here, I walk up here. I want a place to sit because the ground is usually wet. So this bench represents a place and a location from which to observe, like the windows in the drawing studio. And take a little rest here, sit here, and this is the view from the bench. So one gets a sense of the smallness of this sort of 10 to 12 acre field, which I've gone to some trouble to map with these objects. And but it's within this larger context, clearings separated by pieces of woods, stands of trees, all nodes within a larger relationship of nodes and nets and open fields and closed woods. And the Aboriginal philosopher named Tyson Yunkaporta, one can find his work on YouTube all over the place, really well worth a listen. He talks about sharing a landscape with other beings, flowers, birds, bees, animals, and the seasons. And he talks about landscapes as networks of signaling. They're signals that one picks up on and interacts with. And in my mapping of this property, really one would say I'm trying to pick up on little locations in which the signals are overlapping and create a kind of suggestion of a place to put a bench or a hut or a sculpture. But really the signaling is, it's all about the cross signaling. These stands of trees are really like families. The tall ones drop their seeds and create another generation. So really they're like standing families. These are mainly oaks and maples up here, with the occasional ash. All the ash trees have been hit by a blight, so they're really good for firewood now. But these behind me are oaks, white oaks, and the deer love the white oak acorns. And so that's the signaling. That would be an example of what Tyson Yunkaporta calls signaling. When the white oak acorns falls, they don't have the same acorn production every year, but in a good year, this ground up here is covered with white oak acorns, and that signals to the deer hunters and maybe the other predators that the deer are going to be really fat this year. They're going to have a good layer, good meat, good fat. I don't hunt. I don't really ever get to eat venison, only on occasion, but with a bench or a sculpture, making a spot from which to observe it. These are white oaks. Here is the eastern edge of the open field, and now in autumn it's surrounded by these kind of dead walls of brambly bushes. But as a painter and a sculptor, I guess, as an artist, I can just completely appreciate, you know, the complexity of this manifestation of nature. And it just, you know, signaling that, you know, creating a habitat for little birds. They can get away from the foxes. They had like a bunch of nests in here. And then of course up here, these trees, there's some nests up there. Some evergreens back there. My neighbor is a deer hunter. He's got a stand here. So he's located, he's entered the dance, let's call it, the signaling the interrelation of like tracking where the deer move and how to position a deer stand, take advantage of them coming into the open field. And then over the years, I've mowed this pathway down the east side. So my pathway, my sort of human tractor mowing, now allowing the deer to gain access to these hawthorns. I don't know if they eat the berries or not, but you know, maps on maps, routes, pathways, nests, places to sleep. I'm sure we'll come across some of the deer trails that crisscross through the field and in the winter lead to these thickets where I think the deer can sleep safely. So this is a pathway through. There's between these two fields, which are my kind of walking habitat, there's a stand of woods that you know, never got cleared. And tomorrow I'll continue this video and this video mapping through to the far end of that far field, which is a whole other experience. But I'm sure the deer travel through here to get from field to field, and we'll take that up tomorrow. That's a view west with the setting sun, the drawing cabin, sun going down behind the trees. The temperature is about 35 degrees right now. Winter is definitely on. There may be snow here tomorrow. I'm going to come back and continue filming to the east, the field, the path behind me I just showed. And there are a couple of really sacred spots over there that have their own energy. Before we lose the light, I'm going to continue down this path. This side, this is the east side of the first field, and there's kind of a destination power spot down here, which I'll walk to now. This is a sculpture on the eastern edge of the property of this particular field. It's an ongoing project, a sculptural project by the artist Ben Larocco, who has been working on it on and off for about 4 or 5 years. Every summer he changes the configuration, and I feel like he chose this spot in a similar way as I've positioned my sculptures, by feeling the sort of the power of the field and wanting to locate his work within this area of you know, the kind of the sussing out the power of the field, the landscape, and then responding to it. I guess now this thing looks like kind of a big pile of junk, but it was once a sort of geometric demonstration of the zodiac. This piece here he found on the sidewalk in Brooklyn was the sun. Still holding up pretty much intact. The platform is pretty much rotten. It's rotted all the way through. And these objects and locations have been part of the sculpture that have been either placed here by him in the dismantling of it, or natural selection. This is a piece. This is a painting on masonite that Ben had attached to this tree, and it curved somehow and became like wrapped around the tree trunk. A completely natural warping and landscape kind of doing it. Yeah, a paint on masonite warped around the tree trunk. And then all these tree branches I used to come up here as well and put tree branches against it. This was once up here like this. And I don't know if it really had to do with mapping, but it effectively became like a sculptural mapping of the energy of the field. This is one, this fallen branch here suggested a kind of location, and this was a painting on masonite that has fallen into disuse, but the surface, look at the surface of this thing. Really beautiful. Completely a collaboration with the weathering process. And lovely, lovely artwork here. You know, let's get back on it. Love this piece. These waves, this beautiful, beautiful object in the landscape. Another Luraco that has migrated over here from the platform somehow, embedded in the ground. I think I can speak for Ben. He's an old friend, and I would say he would love this this object to be. This is a painting in his mind, not hung on a gallery wall or a museum wall, but on the floor of this field. And he would completely appreciate the mapping, you know, the way the landscape, of which his sculpture was originally a location in the landscape, has actually become an active agent in the dissemination of the forms. I'm going to walk around to the sea, because on this side, Ben uses CDs, old CDs, quite a bit in his work. And when the setting sun reflects on them, they usually light up really nicely. Those are CDs screwed to wooden elements. Let's see if there are any still lighting up. I guess I missed the sunset. But you get the idea from this. CDs attached to wood. So the question is, I guess, I want to ask the viewing public, if anybody's still watching or interested, do these demarcations of locations within a mapping of an organic natural field create they create centers of energy that become locations, and that's how we move through a map, is you know, location to location. I would say there's a hint of sacredness, but I don't think the sacredness really is anything other than calling attention to the locations. You know, the intersection of culture and nature, definitely part of my concern and part of Ben's concern. It's why I was really happy for him to build this piece here. So, mapping locations as destinations within an open field that establishes a location from which one considers the intersection of nature, artwork, and culture, knowing that this will all be gone in a year or two more. This has been here in some form for about 5 years. Ben works on this piece about once a summer, twice a summer. To be continued tomorrow. I'm going to take a walk over to the far field, the eastern field of my eastern portion of my property. This is a detail of the wall of my wife's meditation studio, hut, cabin. Nature within nature, within nature, within the sphere of human behavior. And then for today, back down to the house, get a cup of tea, the warm kitchen, the warm house, the wood stove is going, and the road beyond, the crisscrossing of roads, the house within the wild, the road passing through it all,